Okay, thank you very much. So now I would like to open the agenda to all of you, and we can endorse the agenda. And if you have any suggestion or proposal for new discussion topics. So firstly, we will review the agenda and a group picture. Then my colleagues Vinisa will provide a presentation to introduce the working group 1. Then we will invite another colleagues from FAO Global Soil Partnership, Luis, make a presentation about the soil nutrient budget map, because we at FAO we are already working on the development of soil nutrient maps. So then we will go into the objectives of working group 1 and the main activities. My colleagues Vinisa will make a presentation about the main activities of working group 1. Then we will open discussions with you. If you have any good proposals and suggestions, we will be very happy to listen from your side. And then we will open a poll to endorse the activities of working group 1. Because we need this endorsement, then we move forward to work on this topic. After this session, we will introduce the governance of the INSOILFER International Network on Soil Fertility and Fertilizers. We will select the vice-chair of this working group, and the vice-chair, the lead of this working group, and this working group leader will be automatically become the vice-chair of the whole INSOILFER network. After that, we will be listening the structure of a technical committee of working group 1. Then we will vote for the technical committee's members of working group 1. Then we will introduce the reference institutions of working group 1. In the end, we will make a conclusion and the way forward, then close the meeting. So with this agenda, we would like to hear you if you have any additional suggestions and proposals for the agenda of today. Colleagues? So I didn't hear any questions. So any proposals? So I think it's okay for everybody. So now I would like to invite all of you to open your camera, and then we take a group photo, because this is the first time we meet each other, and it's really appreciate that you open your camera and we take a group photo, and we will put the group photo on our website of the INSOILFER, this new network, International Network on Soil Fertility and Fertilizer, because I think it's very important topic among soil rights. It's relevant to food security, climate change. So Vinisa, please take a photo. And also we need to avoid overuse, underuse, and misuse of fertilizers. So we need your support, your efforts together with us to really working on this important, fundamental topic. Thank you very much. Please continue to open your camera, please. Vinisa, please let me know if...
Yes, thank you. It's done.
It's done. Okay. Thank you very much, colleagues. So without further ado, now I would like to invite the first speaker of the meeting today, my colleagues, Ms. Vinisa Sanchez, to give us a presentation about the citing the science of this working group 1 of International Network on Soil Fertility and Fertilizers. So the floor is yours, Vinisa. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Yushin. Let me put this in presentation mode. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
And
yes,
hear me
Vanessa.
well. Okay. Thank you very much. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants, depending on where you are joining us. So please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Vinisa Sainz Santillan. I work for the Global Soil Partnership, and together with my colleague Yuxing Tong, we will be co-coordinating the International Network on Soil Fertility and Fertilizers. So I will give you a brief introduction to all of you about the network. Perhaps some of you have not heard very much about it. So I will share with you some information. So perhaps many of you were joined us at the launch of the network that took place on July this year. So during the launch, we had over 1,000 participants registered. We had the presence and the participation of keynote speakers' presentations. They did technical presentations to introduce the network, outline the activities, and important to prioritize activities. So we did a first outline of the activities of the network. So I invite all of you, if you couldn't attend or if you want to see, you can access the presentations and the recordings in the website. So it's here, the link is here in the presentation. And please know that all the presentations and the recording will be available after a reasonable time of when the meetings are over. So please let me give you a quick reminder of the goals of the network. So the first goal is the adoption and implementation of sustainable and balanced soil fertility management. Then we also want to ensure or contribute to ensure global food security through sustainable use of fertilizers and promote soil fertility. We want to promote the avoidance of the underuse, misuse, and overuse of fertilizers. Also, the reduction of environmental and crop, animal, and human health impacts on sustainable fertilizer use and soil management practices. The evaluation and improvement of safety and the quality of fertilizers. And finally, the promotion of the Soils for Nutrition policy at national, regional, and global levels. So in case you didn't know, every year the Global Soil Partnership celebrates one global symposium in order to address and tackle the main threats to soil health. So in July of 2022, we celebrated the Global Symposium on Soils for Nutrition. So in this symposium, we have more than 9,000 participants attending to the meeting. So there were oral participations, presentation of posters, parallel sessions, renowned speakers, plenary panels. So after all this discussion, we developed this product, which is the outcome document. And this outcome document, we included 6 general recommendations that we developed after hearing all the participants. So the recommendation number 1 was to map and monitor soil nutrients and soil fertility and deepen the knowledge about the soil nutrient budget. Recommendation number 2 is develop innovative approaches and alternative products to optimize soil nutrient content, enhance fertilizer use efficiency, and reduce the externalities associated with soil fertility management. Also to assess the quality and safety of all nutrient sources applied to soils and avoid and reduce the environmental contamination and health problems associated with fertilizer use. Recommendation number 4, advocate for the adoption of sustainable soil management practices, since it is still the most cost-effective solution to increase soil nutrient content and keep soil health and soil fertility. Number 5 is to consider driving forces such as water availability, climate change, poverty, and fertilizer crisis, and promote a soils for nutrition agenda. And number 6 is to advocate for the inclusion of soil fertility and soil health in the legal framework of countries in relation to the One Health approach, which is to link human nutrition, environmental health, and soil health. So after hearing and gathering these 6 general recommendations, one 7th recommendation, and very important for this network, was the launch of the International Network on Soil Fertility and Fertilizers to address many of these recommendations and take actions toward sustainable soil fertility management. So the mission of the INSOILFER is to address nutrient imbalances, which is one of the top 10 threats to soil health, along with other threats, and promote the adoption of soils for nutrition concept for making soils healthy and fertile by 2030 as a contribution to the transformation of agri-food systems and make them more sustainable, more inclusive, and more environmentally friendly. So having said that, a quick recap and why the network. There are many reasons why we want to build this network. The first one is that the network would be aligned with and contribute to fulfill the Sustainable Development Goals, especially zero hunger and environmental contamination, etc. But also it would be a good vehicle for preserving very important ecosystem services that are strongly related with the network, such as nutrient cycling, carbon sequestration, water purification, among others, habitat for organisms, etc. Then also the society is demanding for more, but also more nutritious food. There are very interesting reports describing how 70 years ago our food was more loaded with nutrients, and now it's not the case. So we are losing nutrients in our food, but this is very closely related with losing nutrients in soils. So we need to promote this link that for having nourished crops, we need first to have nourished soils, sorry. Then we also need to have food production without the externalities derived from the unsustainable crop practices, mainly greenhouse gases emissions, atmosphere and soil pollution, and also water pollution. Then we also need to promote soil nutrition without human, animal, and crop health hazards. We know that many of the nutrient sources that we are adding to soils could have hazardous materials like heavy metals or even radioactive materials. So we need to understand what we are adding to soils and have a property, quality, and safety assessment of these nutrient sources. We need to be consistent with circular economy and also to be consistent with agri-food systems with a low carbon footprint. We need to promote not only the traditional nutrient sources such as organic and inorganic fertilizers, but we also need to promote the reuse and recycling of nutrient sources that are many times considered like waste, but those are not waste. So for example, here you have wastewater, algae biomass, aquatic plants, sewage sludge, digestates, products, etc. We have many examples of nutrient sources that could be reused and recycled, again, with a proper quality and safety analysis. Then I think all of us, we know or we are applying successful sustainable soil management practices that help to make a more sustainable use of soils. So we know that sustainable soil management could produce up to 58 more food with practices like agroecology, organic farming, conservation agriculture, zero tillage, and agroforestry. But all these practices are scattered and not very well organized. So part of the one of important objective of the network is to compile these activities and these practices and organize them and make them available for people that need them. Then also we know that farmers, technicians, and laboratories need the support and capacity development. So all these aspects are interrelated and linked with soil fertility directly or indirectly. And that is why we need the network. But now what is next? We need to make the network function. We actually need to build the network in a participatory process. And that is why we need all of you. So thank you for being here. So the first step is what we are doing just now, is the first meeting of the working groups to hear all of your voices and to build this network participatory. And then we are almost ready with this website construction. It will be available this week. We are just finalizing some details. So we will have the website of the network, and in there you will find actually these presentations and the report of these 3-day meetings. And then, of course, we have we need the collaboration of other networks, of you and other institutions. So as my colleague Yoshin has told you, during these meetings of the INSOILFER, we will have meetings for 3 days. So day 1, which is today, we have the working group 1 meeting, soil fertility and nutrient monitoring system. On day 2, tomorrow, we will have the working group 2 meeting, sustainable soil fertility and fertilizer management. And day 3, on 29th of this November, we will have the meeting of the working group 3, which is fertilizer safety and quality assessment. And we will also have the debriefing meeting and the wrap-up of the 3-day meeting. So what to expect in this 3-day meeting? We will basically endorse first the main activities and the very general work plan for the network, in this case today of the working group 1. We will also endorse the governance of the network. So we need people to help us and support us in leading the working group. So we will elect today the vice-chair of the network. Then we will also elect the technical committees, the reference institutions that will help us to downscale or upscale the activities of the network, and potential collaborations and joint working groups. So I also want to mention that during these meetings on the 3rd day, on 29th of November, the general chair of the network will be elected. So even if you are members of working group 1, I encourage you and I invite you to attend the meeting tomorrow and then day after tomorrow. So the membership of INSOILFER, many of you, all of you, I guess, received this survey. So you could register and you are actually now members of INSOILFER. So far we have more than 200 members. We know that this number will increase rapidly. We have members from 69 countries. So it's important for us in the network to maintain regional balance, sector distribution, and also the balance in the working groups. So the regional balance is, as you can see now, we have a lot of people from Africa and from Asia and Latin America and the Caribbean. So we want to keep this regional balance. So we need to work and please invite your colleagues from the different regions to be part of INSOILFER. Because of the nature of the topics that will be addressed in INSOILFER are highly cross-cutting, so we need to keep the sectoral distribution very diverse. So we want to welcome many different stakeholders like government, farmers and farmers organizations, also the private sector, academia, laboratories, civil society, students, and others. And finally, the working group distribution. Many people come from the working group 3. This is because working group 3 is what used to be INFA, the International Network on Fertilizers Analysis, that has become working group 3. So it was established network, but in time we will make this distribution more even. And finally, I want to share with you the INSOILFER structure. So first, we have, of course, the chair and the vice chair of the network. So chair and the vice chair are members of the network that nominate themselves and become chair of vice chairs, elected by you. Then, of course, we have the working groups, which is the network itself, so it's the participants. Then we have the technical committees, formed again by people from the network, members of the network. So we will have one technical committee on each one of the working groups. And we have the INSOILFER coordinators in the GSP Secretariat, my colleague Yuxing Tong and me. And finally, we will have reference institutions to support us with to reach the objectives of the network. So I guess that's all that I wanted to share with you. Thank you, Yuxin. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Vanessa, for introducing the side of the science of the working group 1. So we would like to establish 3 working groups, as Vanessa mentioned. First one is about soil nutrient monitoring system, mapping, etc. This is the first working group. This working group is aiming to know our soils on the soil fertility point of view, because we need to know our soils before we're going to manage it. Because sometimes if we provide some negative or improper management practices, it can hurt our soils. It can be unsustainability for soil management. Then working group 2, we are going to organize the working group focus on the soil management practices. After we know our soils, we need to know how to manage our soils. So that is the objective of working group 2. And the last working group is about the fertilizer quality and fertilizer quality and analysis. So it's about fertilizers point of view, include all fertilizer laboratories around the world. So thank you very much, Vanessa. Any questions regarding Vanessa's presentation? We can open the floor to everybody, because now we are during a working group meeting. So we really want to hear from you about your suggestions, your proposals, because we are a network. Network means you are the members, you are the hosters of this network. So if anybody have questions, please raise your hand. Then Vanessa and me will answer your question. You can also put your question on the chat of the Zoom. So one question from chat is how to find out which working group you have registered. So I think you selected working group, right? And when you registered. So I think we can continue to send the registration to you even after these working group meetings. Then you can reselect your working group. Would you please share the list of members of the 3 working group? Share the members. We already shared the members in our website. So there is a map on the website. So I can put the link to you now even. You can go to the website and see the members, whether you are on the map. So please, this map is not finalized, because we will continue to update the website with the decision of today. So, but still, you can now go to the website to see the map on the website, you can see a map, and the map include all registered partners for the INSOILFER working group. Thank you very much. And there is a term monitoring. What you mean? There is a term monitoring in working group 1. Suleiman, could you please explain a little bit your question?
Yes,
are you here? Please.
Sorry. So in the definition of working group 1, we're talking about the monitoring system, but not explanation about that from Vinisa. Will we establish like monitoring sites, or what is that? The meaning of monitoring system? Thank you.
Vinisa, please.
Thank you. Yes, I will explain now, and I will have prepared a presentation of for explaining a little bit more about the things that we are proposing and the general topics that could be addressed by this working group. So if you allow me, I will explain in more detail in a moment, but it is about joining efforts in monitoring the important aspects that are defining soil fertility, which are the chemical, physical, and biological aspects of soil fertility and properties. And also, before to build these monitoring systems, there are some things that we need to take a look, and then we need to review, like key indicators that are defining soil fertility. And also, this is the first part, but we also want to support the activities that some other colleagues and networks on the Global Soil Partnership are already doing in terms of, for example, developing a global map of soil nutrients, of soil fertility, and then finally to do a global nutrient budget. But to be there, we need a collaboration with of all of you, but I will explain in more detail in a moment. But it is very important that you know that it is a participatory process that is bottom up, which means with the participation of everyone. And also, please, it's very important that you know these are proposals, but you can also propose more things that we could be doing. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Vinisa. So regarding the soil fertility monitoring system, I can explain a little bit, because at FAO, we are working on the soil nutrient budget map, global soil nutrient budget map, and soil nutrient maps, which will be the next presentation. You can know more about this map and the nutrient budget map globally. So after we have this map with the country-driven approach, because the countries will develop their own maps by using our methodology, then we integrate all the map together as a global map. We want to use this map, this nutrient budget map, to develop a global soil nutrient monitoring system. But this is just start. So because we are just establishing this network, and we will work together with the soil information network of Global Soil Partnership, and then we want to build the somehow like a soil nutrient monitoring system or monitoring later. So that's our expectation, but still we need working with you. So that's my answer about your question. I see more question, expert from the United States as well, if I pronounce the word right. We're asking a question about the effect of machinery and tools on soil use. Yes, we would like to involve the machinery tools, their effect on soils, but this network will be more focused on soil nutrient and fertilizers. So for sure we can involve the machinery, because machinery will provide a very important role for the fertilization procedure. With this, I mean, a big machine or small machine, it can have a different approach regarding the fertilization. So another question is about can Mohammed, I think he's asking to be the candidate for the vice chair of each working group. I don't know, because now it's already who is open the shared. Sorry, colleagues, who is the shared screen? Vanessa, is that you?
No, but let me find out who this is.
Okay, so I think today for the working group 1, we already received the candidates, so I'm not sure we can involve you in the candidates of vice chair. So maybe for the vice chair of tomorrow and the day after, you can be the candidate, but please send an email to Vanessa and me after today's meeting. We can including you as the candidates, because we are open to everybody if you would like to be contribute to the network. So I see Vanessa, please.
Yeah, sorry, Yushin, just to mention that, Mohammed, but you are registered for being at least part of the technical committee today. But as Yushin said, you can write an email for being a candidate tomorrow and the day after tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. So I see a hand up. So Ali Mahdi from Libya, please.
Thank you. I am Ali Mahdi, Global Soil Partnership focal point. Just I want to ask, because work group 1 and 2 very close, the meaning of or the area of work for group 1 and 2. I don't know, maybe we need more discuss or something like that. Thank you.
So you between you and the INSOILFER, you mean?
I mean the work group 1 and the work group 2, the meaning very close and the work of area very close. Maybe we need more description about the area of work.
Okay,
work
thank you.
One.
Thank you. Thank you. May I explain a little bit for your question? So working group 1 is focused on soil nutrient monitoring, because we want to know our soils, analysis our soils, and using to develop data on soil nutrient, soil fertility. And working group 2 is about the practices. We want to kind of establish a working group to develop good practices for sustainable management of soil fertility and fertilizers. So working group 2 is more focused on the practices, field practices, development practices, exchange knowledge, something like that. Working group 1 is monitoring, develop mapping and data analysis, soil analysis, soil fertility analysis is more focused on this point of view. But of course, if you have good comments and proposals, we can discuss later, and we can try to modify the activities of working group 1 and working group 2. I see another hand up. Some menu, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Samuel Kwesi Benefo from Soil Research Institute, Ghana. I applied, I nominated Soil Research Institute as a reference institution 2 weeks ago. And fortunately, I received a mail yesterday that for the acceptance of my nomination for CSR, Soil Research Institute. And so I've read the concept note and the terms of reference and everything. However, I want to know how I can communicate this official information to the director because this is official. So am I going to receive any official letter or official reference or concept so that I can package them and deliver the presentation to my director before we will see how best Soil Research Institute can help INSOILFER. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your questions. Under this network, we want to select some reference institutions because we prefer, we organize many networks under the Global Soil Partnership of FAO. So there are some active partners. We are very active, involved in all our activities. For example, develop some publications, conduct some projects, support some development of some products, and also support trainings, etc. So they are very active, and some partners somehow very busy. So therefore we think it's perhaps we can separate the partners as reference institutions who are very active, involved in our work, in our activities. Then we will prioritize. We will, for example, if we're going to train and we have some opportunity to invite experts, we would like to invite those institute experts in the more active institutions. And if we want to develop some publications, we would like to involve the people from the reference institutions to be the lead author of chapters or lead author of the publications, etc. So that's why we are going to want to select some reference institutions. Of course, we will provide the certificates to the reference institutions to encourage partners to be more active, to be more involved in the global activities of INSOILFER. So that is the objective of these reference institutions. Of course, we want to involve more institutions in this group institutions. But we will also evaluate the performance. For example, if the institutes would like to join, we welcome, but we also want to know whether they are actively involved in our work. So that is the objective. So Vanessa, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sheena. I just wanted to mention that I just put the link in the chat of the concept note where there is a more detailed description of the 3 working groups in case you want to take a look at it. Also, you should have received an email with the link to the concept note. And of course, this type of information will be soon available this week in the website. Thank you, Yushin.
Okay, thank you. So I see another hand up, but please briefly ask your question. We need to go to the second agenda, follow the agenda to the second station. Please. Chief Masago Song.
Okay, good afternoon, please. I am Chief Masango Sone from Cameroon. I am Director of Green Cameroon, and my first question is to find out if it's possible to belong to 2 working groups. And my second concern is, I received an email because I applied to be a member of the technical committee. So I received an email that I'm supposed to be here today. Unfortunately, I was having technical issues and I just joined about 10 minutes ago. So I don't know if there is anything particular that is needed from me, or I just follow the meetings it's doing. Thank you.
Yes, of course, you can join another working group. I didn't really hear clearly about your second question.
Okay, my second question was, I applied to be a member of the working of the technical committee, working group 2. And I received an email that was saying that as a member, someone was applied for the technical committee. I should make sure I attend this meeting today. So I'm asking if there's anything in particular that is expected from me in this meeting, or I should just follow as the meeting is going on right now.
Okay, in theory, if you would like to working for the second working group, so in theory you should attend the second working group meeting. But still, if you're interested, you can attend this meeting for sure. If I understand well your question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dear participants, colleagues, let's move to the second item of today's meeting, because we cost a lot of time for the first one. So now I would like to invite our colleagues, Luis, who is an expert on soil information, and Michael Luis Lado. So he is an expert on soil information and mapping. Work with us at Global Soil Partnership Secretary. So he will giving us introduction about the soil nutrient map and the soil nutrient budget map. Thank you. Luis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yushin. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome everybody to this presentation. I'm glad to present our results here. I am Luis Rodriguez Lado. I'm a PhD in soil sciences, and I am working in GSP in the soil information and data team. I will present here our results on global soil nutrient budget maps that we were developing during this year as an exercise for mapping and as a tool for soil monitoring soil health and fertility. As Benicia said before, everything started after the Global Symposium on Soils for Nutrition. There was a recommendation to develop nutrient maps at a country-driven approach to monitor soil fertility. And these national maps would serve to feed a global map depicting the status of soil nutrient budget maps globally. And the approach that we should use should be holistic, in the sense that consider as much as possible all the aspects of soil nutrient inputs and outputs. So after this, the global soil nutrient budget maps, the acronym is GSN map, was an initiative of the International Network of Soil Information Institutions and the Global Soil Partnership to develop the current state of map of nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and their budgets. We divided the development of these outputs in two phases. The first phase, phase 1, is related to the construction of maps of soil nutrients and some soil fertility properties. And the second phase is related to the creation of the nutrient budget maps. So this is the methodology that we used for phase 1. What we have the soil data at field scale in laboratory analysis, then we have the databases with the locations, and we use a number of environmental proxies to determine how is distributed each soil property in a map. We make use of machine learning techniques. In this case, we standardize the technique to a quantile regression forest, and we have the output will be the maps of NPK contents in the soils. The phase 2 is dealing with the soil nutrient budgets. I will explain later. The development should be country-driven approach, And but it's not anesthetic pictures, and the maps can be updated regularly following a versioning system. And the stand of the maps, of course, are national, but only for croplands. We fixed a reference depth of 0 to 30 centimeters of soils, and the spatial resolution of the output maps will be 250 meters. The mandatory outputs of the exercise, the mapping exercise, will be the total nitrogen, available phosphorus and potassium, and then some soil properties related to fertility, cation exchange capacity, pH, texture, bulk density, and organic carbon content. This is the flow. So the GSP members request for the GSN map. We develop a methodology to create the maps. Once the methodology has been decided and approved by the GSP and the INSI, it has to be transformed to some documents, a technical specification and country guidelines that we have published online. We need also to build a capacity program to help technicians to understand how to implement the modeling techniques in the country guidelines to achieve their results. Then we ask for the national submissions. We follow in GSP as much as possible all the process of creating the maps at national level, and then we have the final GSN map products. At the moment, the project engaged 98 countries, and we formed about 322 participants through the online training system. What we have up to now is that 19 countries submitted all the information that we requested, and 13 countries are making progresses to do it. This is the picture that we had on the 31 of August this year. That was the deadline, the first deadline that we put for this exercise. The deadline was extended, so many countries are still in the process of finishing their products. And the next question is, what do we do with, if it's a global product, what do we do with the countries that don't submit any map? We give the countries two possibilities: either gap filling, that means filling the information of their countries based on information that we can retrieve for many other sources, or if they don't agree with this technique, they can leave the country blank. So they can say, I don't want the information of my country be in the map as I need to, for example, to make a much more accurate prediction of the distribution of the nutrients in my soils. We expect that this map will be finished next year, in June next year. How do we do the gap filling? We propose 3 methods, but mostly we use 2 methods for gap filling. First is data completion, and the second is interpolation. But we don't use this, and we propose to preferentially use machine learning approaches. The data completion is simple. We use existing information from raster layers and cut this information and put it in the global map. This is fast and straightforward, but is inaccurate, and it leads to a map that is not visually consistent. So we can see that there are differences between countries related to their boundaries. So what we proposed, the most accurate form of estimation soil properties, soil nutrient properties, is the use of machine learning algorithms. So if the countries don't have any data, we provide a background of data that we have from estimates. We propose to pick some random points from this map related to their country extent, and then train an algorithm to predict with the same environmental proxies that we use in phase 1 for all the countries, to make predictions and submit the predictions with the existing databases. We have a number of databases that with data for gap filling, and we wrote also a concept note and a draft manual for estimating the global nutrient maps using gap filling strategies. The second phase is related to the mapping of soil nutrient budgets. In this phase, what do we have? That usually the data on the nitrogen dynamics on a global scale is aggregated at national and yearly basis. That means that we have databases from FAO-Stat, IFA, IFRI, data about countries on a year, but this data doesn't reflect the differences at subnational level. So what do we want is to promote the evaluation of what the difference inside the countries, and to have a much more clear picture of the differences in soil nutrients for each country. Our objective is to improve the global soil nutrient budgets, incorporating assessment on soil nutrient stocks. That is the information that we provide in the first phase, and use another extra information from processes like erosion, leaching, under a country-driven approach. For doing this second phase, we have a working group of expertise where we have 24 experts on soil nutrition that address all the difficulties that can arise to make a proper evaluation of the nutrient budgets, and we are working with them to have a consensus on how to map the budgets and where to retrieve the information to make the budget maps. We have also a draft on this, and I will show what's the situation. The situation is that we have our soil nutrient stocks coming from the first phase, and then we need, for making the nutrient budget, we need to know how many inputs, nutrient inputs, and how many nutrient outputs go out of the soil. For the inputs, we use fertilizers, manure, deposition, and biofixation of nutrients, and for outputs, volatilization, leaching, erosion, and the output from the crop products. Doing this summatory and of elements, we can know if the soil is depleting or increasing their amount of nutrients. The information that we have for outputs and inputs, we decided to divide the mapping exercise in two different tiers. The tier 1 is the situation where the country doesn't have any information, and the information to calculate the inputs and outputs is coming from external data sources. This is simple because the data sources also exist. We allocated raster maps of the inputs and outputs necessary to do this. The quality is relatively lower than you could achieve at national level. So we also decided to implement the tier 2 in case that the countries have a higher quality information about inputs and outputs. They have the opportunity to add this to the nutrient budgets and create maps much more accurate. So the inputs, we have sources of synthetic fertilizer according to crop types, manure applied to soils, nitrogen deposition maps, biological fixation rates, crop removal using different crops and the extension according to the world cereal monitoring based on satellite imagery, nitrogen leaching using both entire one, that's existing data sets, or entire 2 using pedotransfer functions, and nitrogen losses through emission of greenhouse emission estimations, and losses due to erosion. We have the global soil erosion map, and we can mix it with the soil nutrient stock to determine the amount of nutrient losses due to erosion. The expected result is a map where you have the amount of nutrients that goes in and goes out, and you have a balance, and then you can sum up with the nutrient stocks that you have in the first phase, and to determine which location are having exceedances or deficiencies of nutrients in a yearly basis. This is the expected output that we want for this. This is still, the work is still in progress, so we need to finish some issues to have the draft and the guideline documentation to make it publicly available. The implementation plan, we are thinking in that all the computation and data will be in Google Earth Engine. We are developing a Google Earth Engine script with the global defaults, where also the countries can upload their detailed databases, and finally the system will produce the maps of nutrient budgets. And to follow up, so we need to finish the technical specification and country guidelines. We expect to finish that on the first half of next year. The International Network of Soil Information Institutes has to review and approve it. And the next step is to start with the second phase during the second half of next year and finish as soon as possible. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the people involved in this project, and De Luca Montanarella as the chairperson in INSI. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luis. So thank you very much to introduce the background and the progress of soil fertility map and the soil nutrient budget map. So I think it's a very important product of FAO, relevant to using the country-driven approach to develop a global maps on soil fertility and nutrient budget, especially to include soil in the nutrient budget calculation, because the previous calculation mainly included the input and output. They didn't consider the soil, the nutrient in the soil, for example, the leaching, erosion, volatilization. So our approach, firstly, using country-driven, involve all member countries. Secondly, we include the soil dynamic in the soil nutrient budget map. It's very important, I think, after we really launch the maps. So I also encourage experts here, because our first working group is about soil fertility monitoring. I really encourage our group experts, if you have expertise on this aspect, and also would like to contribute and be involved in this work, we really would like to have you here with this activity, with this very important work of FAO on soil fertility and nutrient evaluate. So I think Johan from Israel is asking about the deep of the map, right? 0 to 30 centimeters. I think so.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So
The answer is yes.
This is a standard procedure. In fact, in the manual, in the guidelines, if you have the profile data with different soil horizons at different depths, first what you should do is an harmonization of the database to 0 to 30 centimeters. But if you look in the guidelines for the soil nutrient maps that are published on in our sites, I can put then the link in the chat. You will have all the scripts and all the procedure, how to proceed with your database to harmonize to this soil depth.
Luis, another question is about asking focal point of Mexico on this work. So please, I don't know whether you have experts from Mexico, but if have, please answer the question in the chat. On the chat.
Yes, I don't know the names because this is one of my colleagues is in charge of that, but I will ask them and I can share information if they provide me.
Okay, thank you, Luis. Without further ado, because we have other sessions of today's meeting, I would like to go into the next session. It's about the main activities and objectives of working group 1. So my colleagues Vanessa will provide presentation again. So Vanessa, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. I will share my screen now. So I will give you now very briefly an idea of the topics that we could be addressing. So thank you to my colleague Luis. I think he has described a lot of the things that of the subjects that the INSOILFER Working Group 1 could be and how they could be supporting the mapping group of the team of your team, Luis. So back again at the symposium of the Global Symposium of Soil for Nutrition. In this symposium, there were 4 main topics. So the topic that is more relevant for this meeting today, the Working Group 1 meeting, is the status and trends of global soil nutrient budget. This topic addressed other sub-themes like soil fertility data and information and updated information at different scales. So some of the conclusions of these sessions, parallel sessions, posters, plenary panels, etc. about this topic are that soil fertility mapping is key to estimating a reliable nutrient budget, that we need to know where the nutrients are and how to increase their content without the associated externalities. Then also we need to update it and improved soil fertility mapping because this can contribute and has contributed in the past to improve soil fertility, food security, and make spatial soil variability and the variability of soil properties represented. Then also the risk of nutrient deficiencies could be better identified and monitored if we have a solid knowledge of the spatial distribution of soil fertility and soil nutrients in the world. Then also global reserves of essential mineral nutrients such as phosphorus and potassium, which are non-renewable natural resources and other elements, could be better monitored leading to an improved understanding and also an improved management and improved efficiency of the use of these two elements and other elements. Also, the design and implementation of soil nutrient management programs and plans could be more successful. And finally, that the success of programs focused on nutritional fortification could also be enhanced if we first know where the deficiencies are. So here you have an image representing the gaps and challenges for achieving a global soil fertility monitoring system. So one of the gaps that were identified are we have insufficient harmonized data on soil fertility, including chemical, physical, and biological data. Normally, we only talk about chemical fertility, which is the content of different nutrients, but we need to also, I'm sure you know and you agree with me that the soil fertility depends also on other factors that are physical and biological. So the recommended actions for this was to measure soil fertility data with standardized protocols and methodologies. Sorry. So this objective is partly addressed by Glossolan, but I am sure that there are many laboratories, academic institutions that have harmonized data that would like to share with the focal points, for example, and participate in this global activity that my colleague Luis has just described. So then we would have the outcome of updated soil fertility databases, included harmonized chemical, physical, and biological data. Then this gap is linked to insufficient funds for soil data and information. So we don't have that data because we don't have funds, but we don't have funds because we don't have data. So this is a feedback, a negative feedback that I think the network could be supporting to reduce. So it's very obvious that we need to mobilize resources for soil data and information systems and laboratory equipment and infrastructure. Of course, Glossolan is already the Global Soil Laboratory Network. In case you don't know it, I can put the link in the chat when I finish my presentation. But also the network could be helping in this aspect. So we would have enhanced investments in soil data and information, but also in laboratories, equipment, and infrastructure, because we will have not only laboratories addressing soils, but also fertilizers. And then we also have identified this gap, which is the lack of required capacity to obtain and analyze soil information and data. And as my colleague Luis, he said and explained, they are developing national capacities in the countries on soil data analysis and mapping at the national and local level. So INSI, the International Network of Soil Information Institutions, is already working on this, and they are training on harmonized methodologies and protocols, so data and information is being implemented. And finally, we have the gap of insufficient soil data analysis and monitoring with a spatial approach in different crops, different soil types, and different climates. I am sure that many of you have assessed and have assessments of soil fertility. We have so many data, but we don't know if it has a georeference, or if you are willing to participate and to share this data in order to improve the soil nutrient monitoring in your countries, for example. So we need to provide updated information at an appropriate scale, local, national, regional, and global. So again, INSOILFER can support this aspect. And then finally, we could have representative soil maps and monitoring systems with appropriate scales. And the final goal, or the ultimate goal, is global soil fertility mapping, updated data and information, but with a data sharing approach. So these are kind of the conclusions that we talked about during the Global Symposium on Soils for Nutrition. But then the working group 1, a nutrient monitoring system, had the origin, as I said, in the symposium, because it's important that monitor soil nutrients and soil fertility and deepen the knowledge about the soil nutrient budget. And it's also very important to understand that sustainable soil management and the restoration of soil fertility first requires a solid understanding of the aspects that are shown in these figures. So we need to understand which are the inputs in the system. To treat this as a system, we need to understand which are the inputs, human-induced and natural, of course. We need to understand which are the outputs, like, for example, greenhouse gases emission, volatilization, but also other aspects as erosion or crop removal. We need also to understand the environmental losses of the nutrients by leaching, natural, but also enhanced by the overuse of fertilizers or improper rain-fed or proper irrigated agriculture, we need to understand the fixation processes of these elements. So you are the experts. I know you understand very well these biogeochemical fluxes and stores. So you are the experts that could be very supportive for the activities and identifying where the nutrients are and how they are in the soils in our planet, in the crop systems. So we propose 3 very general areas to be working in this by this working group. So the first one is improving the knowledge on soil nutrient dynamics and nutrient budgets in the soil plant system. So we need to work together to obtain reliable, updated, and very important, readily available information on soil nutrient dynamics. Also, we need to identify which are the key indicators for monitoring nutrient movement to serve as a basis for nutrient balance development and mapping. So we need to understand which are these key indicators that are essential for soil nutrient mapping and support. For example, Luis just explained to us the different aspects that they are taking in consideration in the equations for mapping, but then you are the experts. I'm sure you have a lot to say about that, and you have a lot to interact with other people within the network and also with the INSI network. Then the second area would be supporting the decision-making on soil nutrient management, nutrient budget, and climate change mitigation. So we need better fertility monitoring systems, but first we need to enhance the knowledge on this, and then we need to develop fertility monitoring systems by with a participatory process, country-driven on a national basis. And then the third area of work is promoting collective ownership, openness, and innovation in creating novel data sourcing pipelines, which means that, of course, under very specific terms of reference or specific considerations, I am sure all of you or many of you have information that you would like to share in order to understand better the nutrient budgets in the plant soil system. So potential collaborations that we are envisioning are, of course, with INSI, but also we have an intergovernmental panel of soil experts. So they also know a lot about this topic. INSOP, which is another network, the International Network on Soil Pollution, and also NETSOP, which is the International Network on Soil Biodiversity. But also we are open to hear what you have to say, the reference institutions, etc. So the general activities in summary would be these 3. So first, improve the knowledge and enhancing building capacities on soil fertility monitoring and soil nutrient plant development and plant evaluation. So we have proposed here these 3 very general activities like capacity development through, for example, webinars and trainings to enhance capacities on this and to address all these subjects, fluxes, stocks, inputs, outputs, etc. Also, the identification and simplification of the key indicators to define soil fertility status in different scales, and support for developing national and global soil nutrient budgets and soil fertility maps. So, for example, there was a question in the chat, how to link with a focal point in the country, because we believe we have important information that needs to be considered. So the network would be a good vehicle to do this link, for example, so as one activity. Then supporting the decision-making on soil nutrient management, soil nutrient budget, and monitoring system at different scales. For example, with the calibration and testing of practical field tools to evaluate soil fertility status, and issuing sustainable fertilizer recommendations. So we need first to have a solid understanding of the plant soil system, biogeochemical processes, and then we can have a diagnosis of soil fertility, and finally issue a fertilizer recommendation based on this solid understanding. So we could develop this type of tools for improving these areas, and finally establishment of a global soil nutrient monitoring system, and promote a data sharing partnership that, and I think the network could be a good vehicle for doing this. So I guess that is all. I think you have a lot to say. You must have many questions and you are eager to participate. So I think we can open the discussion, Yuxi.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for your introduction. So in conclusion, so under this working group, we would like firstly to support the development of the soil nutrient monitoring system, support the soil information team of GSP, support member countries to develop this soil information, soil nutrient monitoring system. Because the soil nutrient dynamic is a very important for develop a good monitoring system. Of course, then we will link the working group 2 to use good management practices. And this soil monitoring, maps, budget maps, and the system will also can get where to use those good practices. For example, in some continents, in some countries, the main issue is a gap of nutrient input, because no nutrient input, they only using the soil to soil fertility to plant crops, and there is a big gap of soil nutrient budget in some countries. But in another hand, some countries, they overuse nutrient. They put too much nutrients. So they can, after we developed this global soil nutrient budget map, we can know more, specifically like which country need more nutrient, which country needs to reduce the nutrient input. So that is very important for the decision making, because this global nutrient budget map perhaps is not that precise. It's like somehow like a global products, but they can still provide recommendations to the policymakers, because in general they know where their nutrient is not enough, where nutrient is overused. But if we have more resources, for example, FAO and mobilize some big projects in countries, then we can go into the details to the farmer levels to provide more precise recommendations on soil nutrient management and fertilizer recommendations to the country, to the farmer level. So that is in general my answers to the Johan, and from Israel, he is asking about the relationship between working group 1 and working group 2. I think it's kind of cooperation. Working group 1 is monitoring, working group 2 is good practices. Then they need to interaction and according to the working group 1 to make develop good practices, and then also the practice can also support the final recommendation system, monitoring system. Who should collect the data from the government? The focal point of INSOILFER member. I think about soil data, we have focal point of countries, member countries. We have 140 member countries officially joined the Global Soil Partnership. So we will contact focal point for sure, because this is the country-driven approach. But of course, we will also encourage the members of INSEE, because they are soil information experts of country, and they know whether they have good data or not. So the focal point will work with the INSEE focal point, the soil information network, to provide data, I think. Melissa, please.
Yeah, Jushin, thank you. I just would like to complement what you just said. Actually, yes, it is the focal point, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but then the focal point is the one that kind of provide guidance on who could provide data to INSEE. But what we could actually do is facilitate the communication between the focal point in the country and the members of INSOILFER, so the focal point is aware of there is certain type of information in a specific institution, because certainly the focal point cannot be aware of everything in the country. So we need to support the focal point, and the network is something that we could do that through the network, and the GSP Secretariat, that means my colleague Jushin and me and the regional facilitators could be doing that, facilitate the communication between focal point and the members of INSOILFER. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Vanessa. For example, if some countries, they don't, they have data, but they don't know how to develop the map, our colleagues, Luis, and the soil information team can also organize trainings for the countries to develop their own soil nutrient map and soil nutrient budget map. And I would like to highlight that those maps belong to countries, not to FAO. They are the country hold those maps. We only integrate the final product of those maps to a global map. So if if I'm not correct, Luis can provide supplement.
Yeah, it's like that. The information belongs to the country, and we use the information that they provide and allow us to use to make the global map. In fact, some countries, as I said in the presentation, some countries doesn't want to upload information, not because they don't have it, but they believe that they need a better approach or a different approach or other issues at national level, and they explain it that they want to be blank. So in this case, we don't use any information and leave them empty in the global map.
So colleagues, any questions? I think another question is about the misuse of chemical inputs by farmers or retailers are representatives or artificial, and that's not directly to soil fell within the area operation. I didn't really get your question. Masago, Chief Masago, can you ask the question? What you mean for the question? Can you open your floor?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry if the question is not very clear. I was trying to find out if other chemicals or synthetic chemicals that are added to food items, not really administered to the soil, like artificial ripeners or preservatives, fall under the area of operation of INSOILFER.
So Vanessa,
May I?
yes, please.
Yes, if I understand well, please, if not, please correct me, Chief Mr. Masango. That is exactly one of the areas of work of INSOILFER. We intend to tackle one of the main threats to soil health, which is nutrient imbalances. So what we want to do is to promote through the work of the network the sustainable soil management practices, but especially in working group 2, to promote practices of fertilization that are sustainable and promote efficiency in the use of fertilizers. And this includes to avoid the overuse of fertilizers. So we intend also to gather these practices, because I am sure you are aware of practices that can reduce the pollution or can reduce the overuse of fertilizers through different strategies. So these practices are more than welcome, but I guess this is more the work of working group 2 tomorrow, in the meeting of tomorrow. I don't know if I answered correctly your question.
Yes, I think you did to an extent, but to another extent, I'm trying to find out, because some of these additives I'm talking about are really not admitted to the soil, but then they are used by farmers and other retailers on food items. That was my concern.
In that aspect, we have working group 3. Working group 3 is dealing directly, not just with soils, but it's more with fertilizers. So working group 3 is the safety and quality assessment of fertilizers. So in this working group, we have different areas of work, and that aspect that you are mentioning, it's more about the governance, I guess, of the use of fertilizers, and that is something that could be proposed actually in the meeting of working group 3, because currently we are not working on that aspect, but we could, or at least you can propose it and we can discuss it on 29.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay.
please, I invite you, if you can attend, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for answering the question. So yeah, I don't see any questions, so I would like to open a poll.
Sorry, can I say something?
Yeah, please.
I am
of course.
Adele.
Yes, please.
I want to add some things about when you speak about the soil properties and the key indicator to apply fertilizer in soil. I think that first of all, we have to find the key indicators, because we have a soil fertility that is based on chemical, physical, and biological soil fertilities. And we have to find some specific indicators. I worked a lot on this, on soil, and I saw that, for example, one properties that can be identified as a chemical, as physical fertilizer is texture of soils, because clay is in part is part of texture information. Clay is related to cation exchange capacity that is important in keep on soil the nutrients. And so I think that key indicators can be identified as texture, soil organic matter, and humic substances that are part of stable organic matter in soil that is related to soil exchange capacity of soil, and then the pH of soil. These are three important key indicators that are related to each others, and there is a relationship with the soil fertility and the use of nutrients. The other maybe, of course, microbial biomass and so on come after this one because are related, because are governed by these three properties: pH, texture, and cation exchange capacity. This is my opinion on this topic. And another thing is that when we use the fertilizer, we have to pay attention to the crops that we have to cultivate. Some crops, for example, can accumulate nitrates, and then just for this nitrate in nitrosamine that are dangerous for human health. So we have to keep in mind what kind of crops we have to use to dose the right amount of fertilizer that we have to use in soil.
Okay, thank you very much, Adele, for your comments. Sure, we need to study the soil fertility indicators more, and from this network, this is one important task of this working group is to modify the soil fertility indicators. But I mean, also, if once we want to use those indicators, we need also to think about availability for the member countries, whether those member countries have those kind of indicators. So for your second recommendations, very important, sure, we need to understand the cropping system, then provide the fertilizer recommendations. That's why the soil nutrient budget map will be very important tools, because it can analyze the nutrient input, soil dynamic, and a nutrient update. So I think this map, soil nutrient budget map, should be a living product. It should not be only one version. It should be updated 2, 3, 4 versions, because the cropping system is changing, fertilizer input is changing, maybe every year. But if we have capacity, we should update this soil nutrient budget map year by year. And we need your support and your experts, and also expertise, and also, if available, the data to update those nutrient budget map, to provide recommendations, if not very detailed, but in general to some countries, for the policy makers to have a more good idea about the nutrient balance in their countries. Because some countries, they have their own estimate as the statistics every year. But for some countries, especially developing countries, they don't have this capacity to evaluate their country's nutrient balance every year. So perhaps FAO could be a good platform to work with partners together to provide those key information to countries. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think there is a hand up from how is that? Good question. Yeah, please, please.
Yes, it's Ghanshyam Siboran from Mauritius, and I represent the farmers organization. And my question is that I want to know if there will be the data also for a small island, because many times when you take the consideration, you take the continent and big countries, and where the state island sits, countries are not taken into consideration. We do not have that data, and because also it's small in area, and the soil is different. We are from the volcanic island and mountain rocks, so there is also cyclone, lot of soil erosion, all these things. I think it's good to have a data for small island taken into consideration, and how to manage, because we import a lot of fertilizer and it costs a lot. and the farmers did not know how to use it, how much to put, because there is no data at such there is no research even, because these small islands, they did not have enough fund to invest in research for laboratory and all these things. So my question is that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. So I think for small islands, really, we need to put efforts to build capacity for those countries, because it's not only for soil fertility fertilizers of this working group. It's relevant to all capacity building, the laboratory, the soil testing capacity of laboratories, the soil information capacity, mapping capacity, and as well as other capacities, good practices for the soil erosion, etc. So it's really a whole system approach to improve the sustainable soil management of small island. So I think it will be very good we can together to provide some expertise and if possible some resources for small islands countries in this aspect. Thank you for your question, and please keep contact with us, not only our group but also other groups like Global Soil Laboratory Network and other group of global soil partnership. We will try our best to supporting you to build capacity. Thank you. I see George, you hand up, please.
Yes, thank you, Yushing, for giving me the floor. I wanted to add some words in your answer regarding Professor Gusham from the Eastland. I want to confirm him that we are trying at the GSP. First of all, I want to present myself as an intergovernmental technical panel on soil in African regions. So I'm in charge of the report of World Soil Resource 2025, and we are working now regarding all the soil everywhere in Africa, including Island. We are working there to provide some data. So just to let him that we are working there, and I'm sure that with this new network, we all will keep working even in his area. That's all.
Thank you very much, George. Yes, from our side, we are working for member countries as FAO. So in different aspects, soil fertility and other platform you can use to build capacity for your countries, and we will try to supporting you. So now I would like to open a poll, like if you agree, the general activities of working group 1. Here we propose three basic activities, but not basics. 3 general activities we are going to do, but we can still modify them after that. So I will open the poll for you for vote yes or no. Thank you. Can you please vote the first question? If you agree to take the following 3 general activities as a starting point in the working group 1. First, improve the knowledge and enhance building capacities on soil fertility monitoring and soil nutrition plan development and evaluation. Secondly, supporting the decision-making on soil nutrient management, soil nutrient budget, and the monitoring system at global, national, and local scales. 3, establishment of global soil nutrient monitoring system and promote a data sharing partnership. So the partnership also very important. We want working with you together. So please, colleagues, vote, represent yourself and your institute about what we are going to do under this working group. Colleagues, please I cannot vote. So colleagues, please vote and about whether you want to. But of course, we will also ready for your comments or recommendations after the working group 1 meeting, and you can provide your comments, and then next year, early next year, we will organize specific meeting with you together to modify the working group plan. This meeting is generally for the set size and the structure of this working group 1. Please, colleagues, could you please vote? I don't know whether you are in the night. So please wake up and vote for this first poll. Okay, colleagues, I see there are around 80% of people vote and no objective. So I think we can endorse this work plan. Thank you very much. No, it's 73, 72. Can you see the vote result? Can you see the? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you. No objection. So I think we endorse this activity. So well, for sure, we will together with you to review the activities, and we will develop more detailed activities. For example, organize training sessions, webinars, develop publications, and also if we found the resources, we also can implement some projects later. So let's start. So it's a starting point. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, colleagues and participants. Now I would like to move to the next session. It's about the governance and the election of INSOILFER Vice-Chair, who will leading this working group. So Vanessa, my colleagues will present the role of the Vice-Chair. So I want to mention again. So we will select, you will select the Vice-Chair, and who is also the person leading the working group 1, and this Vice-Chair will automatically become the Vice-Chair of the whole INSOILFER network. So thank you, Vanessa, please, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yuxin. So I don't want really this to be so boring for you. You all received the terms of reference for being a chair, vice-chair, and technical committees. So I just want you to refresh your memory here. Is the general roles of the vice-chair are chair the corresponding technical working group, vice-chair, sorry, technical working group meetings, ensure its work objectives and deliverables to be met on time, and update the working group plan when necessary. Can you hear me well?
Yes, Vanessa, please.
Okay, so maintain active communication, oversee the progress and link between the INSOILFER and technical working groups, report regularly about each technical working group progress, report the progress and changes in the work plan, in the yearly INSOILFER meeting. So every year we will have a meeting like this to report the progress, but also propose new activities, support the INSOILFER chair in attending other relevant network meetings, and meet regularly in advance for the different activities as needed. I want to clarify that these are the roles of the vice chair, but of course you will have full support of the GSP Secretariat and certainly of Yuxin and me and the chair of the network. Some additional remarks: the mandate of the INSOILFER governing team, chair and vice chairs, will be valid for a period of 2 years. Its election is open for INSOILFER governing team and will be performed at the INSOILFER meeting on the second year. Chair and vice chairs can also be re-elected for a second term of 2 years, but shall not serve more than 2 terms. And of course, the chair may be supported and represented by any of the vice chair in the activities and the tasks. So we only received one candidacy to be vice chair, to be leading working group 1. That is Dr. Ranjan Bhattacharya from India. I am sorry if I didn't pronounce well your name. I apologize. So Yuxin, do you agree if we give the floor to Dr. Ranjan to introduce himself?
Yes, of course. Dr. Ranjan, please introduce. Are you here? Dr. Ranjan?
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Vinisa, you pronounced very nicely, maybe better than me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am Dr. Ranjan Bhattacharya from India. I am currently working as a principal scientist at the Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi. Previously, I did my, PhD from the University of Wolverhampton, UK, and postdoctorate from University of Queensland, Australia. I normally worked on soil carbon sequestration, soil erosion control, soil conservation, tillage, nutrient management, and majorly, carbon sequestration, looking into the fact of the physical, chemical, and biological things. So as Vinisa said, this is very, nice setup for me, because I not only worked on nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon management and their, transformations, but also the chemistry of that, but also some physical and chemical properties. So thank you. I have published more than 135 international papers and more than 50 Indian national papers. I'm an ITPS member, serving, this is the second term. I know Vinisa personally very well. Thank you very much for your kind consideration, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ranjan. And we really looking forward to your contribution to this working group 1 and provide your expertise, especially to provide expertise to develop the soil nutrient indicators and the monitoring together with the colleagues and members here in this working group. Thank you very much. So because we have only one candidate, so I think it's not necessary to vote for Dr. Ranji to lead the working group 1.
Thank you. Thank
so
you.
I don't see any hands up. So I think we can endorse this vice chair, Dr. Ranja, and also who leading the working group 1. Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. So now we can move to the next session is about the technical committee. So please introduce, Vinisa, please introduce the role of technical committee.
Another 2 years away.
Yes, Justin, thank you very much. So the roles of the technical committee are mainly these 3: reviewing the proposals made by the network, writing the technical documents and communication materials, approving or rejecting the proposals. The decisions will be reported to all the members of INSOILFER coordinators, and advising the working groups on how to write the technical documents. Some additional remarks: a technical committee will be established for each working group and shall be composed considering ideally regional gender and age balance, and the term of the members of the technical committee is also 2 years, renewable to a second term. Candidates will be proposed and selected by the members of INSOILFER on the basis of their knowledge, experiences, and technical competence, as their commitment to INSOILFER and the time can be devoted to work. And then the members of the technical committee would not be able to carry out the mandate for any reason. Well, of course, that will be replaced. So I have received these 6 candidacies for being part of the technical committee. Please, if there is someone that sent a candidacy and it's not here, please say it now. But I guess I gathered all the candidacies. So Dr. Ranjan has already introduced himself, but Yuxin, do you agree if we give the floor to them very briefly?
Yes, of course, please. So Dr. Ranjan already introduced himself. So the next one should be Nora Muhammad Sarah from Tunisia. Are you here?
Yes, yes.
Please introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you very much. I am proud to be to belong with you today. I am Noura Mohammed Salah. I am a biologist. Since 2006, I am working for the Ministry of Education. And I get many diploma. The first one from the High Institute of Science since 2001, the bachelor degree of biologist, and another one from the High Institute of Health of in Tunisia since 2004, and many others, many dozen of diploma from different establishments around the world. As I said, I am working now for the Ministry of Education as a senior practitioner advisor, and I get I get more than 100 of training, internship, and achievement course certificate. Almost are accredited. I am leader of GSP alumni hub in Tunisia and certified sustainability officer, construction LCA specialist, primary global ambassador at Singularity University, country monitor at the Climate Reality Project, UNFCCC observer, judge member at Selection Review Committee, and many other nominations. I am a member at many dozen international organizations, establishments, institutes, and associations around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I think we can move to the next candidate, Bukari Garba Sedo from Nigeria. Are you here?
The consonants come.
I don't see. Are you here, please? Carla? Bokai, if I pronounce right. Okay, so let us move to the next one. From Cameroon, Masango Solomon Sony.
Okay, so thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak. I am Masango Solomon Sone. I'm Executive Director of Green Cameroon, which is an environmental NGO that works in Cameroon for the conservation of nature. So I have more than 20 years of experience in CSO activities, and part of our work here at Green Cameroon has to do with working with local farmers of communities in the Mount Cameroon region. So my NGO Green Cameroon is accredited to the Convention on Biodiversity, UNCCD, and many other networks. I am also the chair of a United Nations Center of Expertise on Education for Sustainable Development, which is called, in short, the RCE, BOYA. And my work experience with farmers has ranged from with local farmers on fertilizers and all of that. And I am glad to be here. Would love to learn from others, also share my expertise and know-how with members of the working team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So then we want to move to the next one from the United States as well, Moses Tadara.
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me all?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
from you.
So my name is Adwale Moses Shedara, a research scientist at Iowa State University here in the United States of America. I'm into soil tillage research dynamics. So currently, I'm a member of American Society of Biological Engineering at SABE, and also a member of INSOILFER. And I've published over 18 publications working on research related to how soil fertility, soil health can be improved using different tillage practices. Currently, I'm working on how to improve the soil nutrients of soil that have been disturbed by pipeline activities. I'm interested in the technical committee because I've been a reviewer for like 18 publication houses, and I'll be using my expertise to help in terms of the proposal quality, and also help in terms of the network of experience that I have to help improve the quality of research. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edward, for your interest to be the member of technical committee. So the last candidate, Johan Lerner from Utrecht, Netherlands. Please, the floor is yours, Johan.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Tong. Yeah, my name is Johan Lenaars. I'm a soil scientist at Utrecht, indeed, Utrecht World Soil Information in Wageningen. Yeah, to be honest, I was wondering if indeed I should be part of this working group or maybe working group 2, so I doubt a little bit. But first, let's see. Yeah, but first now I'm just looking to see what it's all about. It's very interesting. What I want to say, I mean, I've been interested in working on issues on, let's say, sustainability of the soil, but also, I mean, increasing productivity of, let's say, increasing productivity, the two aspects of, let's say, also soil fertility management. And I think this working group can make an important contribution to that, to at least have a global overview. I think also we have some experience with collecting soil data in different countries, producing maps of it, and then also using that information. So maybe I could be of use. And no, that's what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johan. And sure, I think Utrecht already working on soil fertility global monitoring, a lot of work in Africa, in many other continents, regions. Sure, we need to close our cooperation to support this activity, this working group, like monitoring soil fertility, and to make a more precise, good recommendations to different stakeholders. Thank you very much. Right. Thank you for interesting in contributing the working group 1. Sorry, can you hear me clearly? My colleague is speaking. So can we let's move to the next session is about the references institution for working group 3. Vinisa, the floor is yours.
We will open the platform to the
Vinisa.
Yeah, Yuxin, let me share my screen again. So the role of reference institutions is to attend the meetings of INSOILFER in order to contribute the regional and global decision making, Representatives of national reference institution can count of financial support of GSP to attend to INSOILFER meetings, but this will be decided according to the resources and funds available and not to all of them. It will be decided based on the contribution to INSOILFER activities, working groups, gender and geographic balance, attend regional and global trainings and webinars, or at least try to do that, implement INSOILFER standards and decisions. Also, timely reply to INSOILFER emails, providing information, including regulation procedures, laws, or public policies, promote INSOILFER, motivating other institutions, laboratories in their country or in the region where they are working to join the network, and lead the organization of national trainings or meetings to transfer knowledge and skills acquired in INSOILFER to other institutions and laboratories. Also report the activities related with INSOILFER to the coordinators, and also the reference institutions will benefit from priorities to be invited to meetings or be funded with equipment or leading authors of publications, etc. But of course, this all will be decided depending on the participation on the institution and with the approval of the network. Some additional remarks: all public and private institutions are welcome to join INSOILFER. So as I said at the beginning of the meeting, these institutions are helpful to support the downscaling of the objectives, but also the upscaling of the goals and activities of INSOILFER. So these are in general the activities or the main activities and functions of reference institutions. So please nominate your reference institutions. I have some examples of reference institutions that have been nominated, but mainly for working group 2. But this call is open to all of you. So now that you have more clarity on the activities that will be performed by the network, specifically the working group 1, I guess now you have a better idea, and if you can or you cannot, or you know of an institution that you would like to nominate, Yuxin. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa, for the reference institutions. So I would like to mention again because why we want to classify the partners like reference institutions and other partners, because we want to because we need more active partners, and then we can provide some priorities to those partners. For example, those institutions actively involved in our work, we will provide certificates at reference institutions. We will provide the mission opportunities. We can also provide some, if possible, together to mobilize resources. So those institutions, reference institutions, should also highly involved in our work, supporting us to develop, to scaling up the soil fertility network. So that is our objective. So we are warmly welcome all of you if you are interested to contribute to the network, and also interesting to working with us on this topic at the global and the national level. Please register the reference institutions of the INSOILFER network. Thank you very much. And I think we didn't open the poll for the technical committees. So now I would like to open the poll for your decision on the technical committees of working group 1. So colleagues, I want to open the second the technical committee.
At locations at points.
Can you see?
at that point to
Can you see the poll?
Yes, we can see the poll. Just
Thank you, colleagues. Please vote. Then about the members of technical committees, those people will supporting us more to working on the this working group.
Please vote, colleagues. We invite you to vote. We have currently 61% of participation of all the attendance. So please vote now so we can endorse this technical committee and continue to the next item because we already passed the time of the meeting. So we thank you for your patience and for being still here with us. So we are about to finish the meeting. This is the last item. So please vote. Okay, it's increasing 72. So Yuxin, we have already 72% of the participation. So I think we can endorse the.
Okay, colleagues. So there is no objection about the technical committees. So we are warmly welcome the colleagues of technical committees. Welcome, welcome you to the working group 1, and we will work together for the working group 1. Thank you very much. So I think now we can move to the next session of today's meeting is the conclusion and the way forward. So Vanessa?
Yes. So let me share my screen. I will be very, very brief. So we have here the new structure of working group 1. Sorry, because this is very not very, the edition is not very nice. But so we have here that the new vice chair of the INSOILFER is Dr. Ranjan from India. He will be leading working group 1 and reporting to the chair of the network, and he will be a link between the members and the chair of the network. Then we have the technical committee endorsed and formed by these 3 colleagues here that have agreed to give their time and work to the network. So thank you very much. And I still encourage you to participate in the last day of the meetings on work on 29th on Wednesday, because the general chair of INSOILFER will be elected. So the work plan that we have analyzed and discussed has been endorsed. However, of course, we will add here the comments and the suggestions made by you during the meeting, and a final report will be developed and shared with you after the meetings. And the way forward, I think we need to develop a document of the working group 1 with the goals, objectives, and all the important things that we discussed here. This is a document that is separate to the report, because this is a document only for the working group 1 with all the comments and suggestions made by you today. So I guess this will be the first task of the technical committee. Of course, we will give you a first draft, and then the technical committee can contribute and provide feedback to this document before being shared to the whole network, to the whole working group. So if you agree, I think it would be good to have the annual meeting of the working group 1 in the first trimester of not, sorry, I made a mistake here. It's not the first trimester of 2024. Is probably in the middle of at the end of the year. And of course, we will update the INSOILFER website, and we will put all the information relevant for the working group 1 in the website. And Then the invitation to all of you to ask colleagues and invite your colleagues that you know that they can contribute to the working group 1 or other working groups in INSOILFER. And please, I will stop sharing because I would like to take note in case some of you have something to add to these general slides. Thank you, Yushin.
Thank you, Vanessa. So yes, this is the starting point of working group 1. So we endorse the structure, we selected the chair and the technical committee. Then we will develop a more detailed working plan with you together. So we will share the work plan with you to review, and you can provide your comments, your suggestions, your proposals on our working plans. So this is your working plans, not only us, but today is only a starting point. And we also really would like to invite you to tomorrow meeting. It's about the soil fertility fertilizer management practices, if you're interested in. And also very important, the last day, 29th, we will also select the chair of the whole INSOILFER network. So if you're interested, please also attend the meeting tomorrow and the day after. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, we are also here, want to answer you. Colleagues?
That's a good point.
Hello, colleagues. I think no question. So I think everybody is happy about the result of today, this meeting, and thank you very much. I know some countries in Asia middle night now already, so maybe it's time to close the meeting today. And really appreciate your participants. And I think we did a good job. We endorsed the structure and governance of working group 1. The next step, let's up together, work on this very important topic, soil fertility and fertilizer management. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Yushin. Please don't leave because.
Bye.
What?
Please don't close the session. So
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good day.
Bye.
Very good session. Very good session. Notable session. Bye.
Thank you, colleagues. Bye.
So I should stop recording, right?
Yeah, sure.
Bye.
Stop. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Mr.